CNRL folks because we are a bit late, but we will get started and we'll, as normal, we'll do introductions because, Megan, have you been here before? Okay. Well, then I think all the rest of you guys probably know us well by now, but we'll do some introductions. I'm Molly Douglas, and I represent the northern part of the County of Newell, which, of course, as you know, is a big area. So I'm in the Jam, Finnegan, Duck Lake part of the world, and I get to chair this meeting because I'm the Reeve, and I will pass it over to my right, to Mr. Juss.
Good afternoon, Lionel Juss, and I'm from Division 10, which is north and east of Brooks.
Good afternoon, Hubie Kellen, Division 2, in the beautiful area of Tilly.
Good afternoon, Tracy Fife, Division 5, so south and west from Brooks, so Castles, Antelope Creek, Lake Newell Resort.
Anne-Marie Phillipson, Patricia area.
Brian DeJong and I represent the area around the village of Dutchess.
Good afternoon, Clarence Amulon, Rolling Hills.
Welcome, Kevin Stevenson, County Administrator.
Hi, I'm Kelly Chrisman from the west side of the county.
Hi, Wayne Hammergood from Division 4, which is Scandia, Rainier, and Bow City.
Hello, I'm Ellen Unra, and I represent the countryside around the village of Rosemary.
Hello, Ariana Nielsen, Executive Assistant.
Sandra Stanway, Brooks Bulletin.
I'll just get these gentlemen behind you. You got to watch your back with those two to introduce themselves. Finance and assessment. Got that, guys?
That's why they're behind us?
Those are the two guys, yeah. All right, and we'll let you folks introduce yourselves too.
My name is Curtis Sugar, Superintendent for Medicine Hat District.
Dave Rajan, I'm an Operations Superintendent from Calgary.
Megan Baxter, Business Coordinator, also from Calgary.
Jim Ellman, Area Landman Stakeholder Relations.
Well, welcome everyone, and I did have a quick visit with our delegation because I know in the past they have wanted this to be totally in camera, and I said that our council feels that this is something that's important to the residents, and that our residents would be shouldn't be left out of this conversation. And so as much as possible, we're hoping to keep this out of camera today. Certainly we respect the fact that if there's some critical information that would destroy CNRL and they would never be able to come back from it, we'll let you go in camera. But other than that, we would like to begin out of camera. Fair enough? Okay.
Thank you much for that. So, yeah, if you actually go to the first slide. So first of all, why are we here? So we like to provide a status on our operations for the County of Newell. So we've been here a number of years in the past, and we really appreciate the opportunity to sit down and work with you guys to have a really strong working relationship. And so our promise to you was that we would show up yearly and give you a status in terms of our operations in your area. So we want to provide an awareness on the industry challenges that we're having to date. We want to ensure that the jobs and the small businesses in the County of Newell are sustainable. And going back to that earlier statement, it's about working together. So the county and CNRL being able to work together, have a healthy working relationship, so that it's a win-win situation for everybody. And then also, thank you again for the opportunity to sit in front of you, have a discussion with you. Over the last year, you guys have reduced your mill rate, so thank you again. We appreciate that. That helps support the working relationship. And that's it. That's all I have for that slide. So
Oh, my phone thing is on. So I like the way you put that, Dave, but it's not quite accurate.
So your non-res mill rate did not reduce from 2018 to 2019?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was talking about the 35% reduction that the rollback. Sorry.
Oh, okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Okay.
Thanks, Molly. Next slide. So key messages really, our costs are rising, as are a lot of the industries, but although our production declines on an annual basis, and it varies between the gas assets and light oil and heavy oil assets, but our production's declining in the area, and it's very mature. So it needs more and more investment every year, and we need to be able to sustain a business that has a good cost structure that will attract investment to the area. So the long-term decline in natural gas prices is expected to stay low for long-term. The assets in the area are significant for local jobs, surface rentals, and property taxes. And then all this mentioned above just provides an urgent need for us to work together to reduce costs, to extend the field life. So the more that we're able to be more efficient and reduce our costs, the more ability we have to extend the life of our assets in the area, which will continue to provide more revenue and provide jobs in the area. Any questions on that so far? So that's really around why we're here. The key message is what we like to talk about today. But as part of this presentation so far, that's everything that we have that we can share with open doors. Based on this slide going forward, everything that we have is confidential information, so it's company sensitive, if you will, since we're a public company. We would like to go in camera from this slide moving on.
I just have a question here.
Yep.
At the end of this, is this just an information presentation, or is it an ask for something?
Both, actually, awareness and an ask. Yeah.
So perhaps we can come out of camera after the sensitive information part, so that again we are being able to provide information to our residents about possibilities.
Well, I'll be honest. We would probably need, after our last slide, we could come out and say thank you for the. Yeah, let's give it a shot. Let's put my ear, Molly. If there's more information, but there's no there's no information we would show after our last slide, so we would have to close the slide and then come out of camera. But
and then have a discussion.
That's right.
About the ask.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Other questions? Kelly?
Comment, Madam Reeve. So, according to the MGA, land, labor, legal, how does private enterprise fit into those three categories? Can somebody answer that?
Perhaps we should ask seeing as you're referencing the MGA that governs us.
So through the chair, there's a section in FOIP that's also covered off in camera, and that is for information that's provided by individuals and companies that will give their competition or investors an advantage or a disadvantage. And so if there's information that's being provided that CNRL doesn't want other oil companies to have their hands on, or they don't want the investment community read it in the paper, then it's fair to ask that they be in camera.
Thanks, Kevin. And so that is the case.
That's 100%. Thanks, Kevin.
All right. So, any other questions, Councillor Christman? No? Okay. Need a motion to move in camera then. Brian moves. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. We are at item 11.6 on our agenda. So we are slowly jumping around all over the place, but we are getting it accomplished. So ICF Recreation Capital Funding, Town of Bassano, and does everyone know Amanda? Oh. Sorry. Does everyone know Amanda? CAO from the Town of Bassano? I think so, Amanda. You've been at meetings with all of these characters, and yes. And Ariana is our executive assistant, and Sandra Stanways from the Bulletin. And you must know Matt. You seem like you aren't worried about having him sit beside you. And I might be, but... All right, well, we will get started. Everybody's found their place in the agenda. So, Matt, are you starting off with this RFD that you have?
Sure, I'll do a brief intro. Recreation has been on the minds of lots of our partners. Town of Bassano has been good enough to prepare a ask for capital funding. Under our current ICF, we fund operations 50-50 with them, and capitals to be dealt with on a one-off basis. So you've got a summary here, and the town submitted the details of each of the projects. So I'll hand it over to Amanda to kind of speak to each of the projects and the necessity there.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm here to represent the mayor and council today. Sorry that they're not with us, but I would be answering most of the questions anyways, so I'm happy to be here. That's not a jab. That was just, like, they don't need to know the fine details of everything. And that's word for word what Ron said anyways. So, to kick things off, thank you for having us. And the capital funding process that's in front of you, what we've done is we've looked at our infrastructure master plan that was completed by MPE back in 2018. And we went through each one of our recreation facilities to look at what capital upgrades would be required over the next few years to keep them in operation. This is not building upgrades, this is just the regular maintenance of the facilities. So the supplemental documentation here provides an overview and rationale for each one of the upgrades, images for what we could take pictures of showing where infrastructure has deteriorated, as well as a proposed funding overview. Now, you will note in here that the town of Bassano does have an enhancement funding allocation from the county that's still available for roughly $50,000. And I had applied this in the program, not necessarily in any particular order, but when we look at the financial overview, you'll see it in three colors, blue being the proposed enhancement funding carry forward, and in the yellow would be a recreation reserve from the county, and then green is a recreation reserve from the town of Bassano. So has everybody had a chance to look at this, or I just want to know how detailed I need to get into it? We've seen it?
We've got it here in our packages.
Okay. So basically what we're looking at in 2020 is doing a few upgrades, one in the joint use facility. The wall-mounted boilers, as the images showed, are completely rusted out, and it's actually a safety hazard. It is identified in the infrastructure master plan for the upgrade. All of the figures in the financial summary were extracted from the infrastructure master plan, so they could fluctuate. And it does also indicate in here that we would be applying for any supplemental grants that may be available to help with these upgrades. So although overall the capital upgrade is $200,000, all parties' costs could be offset slightly. So 2020 would see the wall-mounted boiler upgrades. We have to replace the sand and lateral filters in the 7 outdoor pool filters in 2020, as well as repair the deteriorated floor in the change rooms. So that is actually from Alberta Health Services that says that that needs to be completed because it's just creating contamination. And again, the pictures show that. And then we anticipate in 2021 doing a fire alarm system upgrade at the joint use facility. It currently doesn't have one. Again, it's listed in the infrastructure master plan. So if we don't do it and there ever were an issue, then there's liability consequences with that, or at least we can expect that. And then we are looking to do barrier-free upgrades at the community hall in 2021 as well. That was not listed in the infrastructure master plan, but getting in and out of the facility and the usage at the facility is detrimental right now. So we're looking at what are the long-term impacts if we do proper barrier-free upgrades following the World Health Organization standards for accommodating all users at the facility. And then it indicates in the supplemental documentation of how we would approach the rental rates at the facility and ongoing usage of the facility, because as it's shown, both the pool and the community hall and the joint use facility all run an operational deficit. That's not a surprise for recreation, but again, that's the operational side. This is capital, and we are working on plans for that. And then finally, 2022, At the joint use facility, the exit and emergency lighting, it's not in there and it's not up to code, so that needs to be upgraded. Controller upgrades are expected at the outdoor pool, and then in 2023, boiler upgrades at the outdoor pool. So I believe the supplemental information in the package probably provides enough background detail, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions? Is the joint use facility the arena, or what's the curling club?
No, you're correct. It's the arena. It's the arena and pool. And I would just like to call it the Recreation Complex 1 and Recreation Complex 2. But for sake of conversation, joint use facility in this package means the pool and arena and the common area between the two.
Well, yeah, I had to look, and when I saw Zamboni, I thought, well, the curling club doesn't have Zamboni, so it's got to be the arena, but it's, confusing. Questions besides that one? Lionel?
I guess the only question I had was not on the numbers so much, but obviously there was some neglect with your maintenance. To get water damage on your boilers, that's significant. That takes some time. So that's built up over a number of years. Do you have some way to deal with the maintenance problem that I see there?
Fair question. And yes, there is a maintenance problem over a period of years. Those boilers are actually in their own self-contained room. So when you go into the change room, they're in a separate room in the back. And I believe part of the rust is actually caused from the condensation within the pool rooms themselves. So further analysis needs to be done to prevent long-term issues with that. It is not any of our objective to dump $6,000 into upgrading something to turn around and do it again 2 years later. So we have to work with some electrical contractors to ensure that that's prevented in the future.
Good question, Lionel. Clarence?
Well, recreation is a big topic around this table. And we've talked about regional recreation, and so I'd like, between yourselves and Kelly, to help me understand a little bit how recreation works in Div 6 and in Bassano. I know that in some of our areas we've got public groups, whether it's community hall group or ag societies or whatever they are. How does this all fit in Div 6 and in the town? Can somebody kind of
take it away, Kelly?
Can I start it and then you can fill it in? So there are buildings that operate by volunteers. That would be the arena and the rec complex. That's where Golf Curl Bowl goes on. Those facilities are operated by volunteers. Then there is the arena and the community hall that is operated by the town office and by the municipal government. They are all owned by the town of Bassano. They all have title by the town of Bassano, which isn't the case all over the county. Some communities, the Ag Society has title, some the county has title, so it's different. But in Bassano, all recreation facilities, land and capital are owned by the town of Bassano. Now I'll leave it there and let Amanda carry on.
Thank you. The only one that I would probably have to confirm with is the Ag Society, the actual buildings on those grounds. Do you know that?
Well, they were put on there by the Ag Society, but because they are on town land, they would become town property.
Okay, so the Ag Society is the only one that I'm not super familiar with, but in general, just further to what Kelly is saying, most of all of the programming is done by volunteer organizations. Minor Hockey, for example, runs the facility during the winter, then the town of Bassano does the hiring and the management of pool staff during the summer. There's nothing that happens in the arena currently during summer months, and then same with the golf course, there's a volunteer board that operates and facilitates that. So to expand on that a little bit further, both Molly and Kelly and our counselors just completed the recreation grant funding process to change the Division 6 from what was previously happening. I just sent it out yesterday. It's doubtful that everybody has had a chance to look at that yet, but it does provide the opportunity for funding these organizations for events and programs, as well as general operating costs, where that wasn't there before. So there could potentially be some new events and programming in and around the area to help bring more usage to some of the facilities. Does that answer your questions, or are you looking for something different?
Trying to understand all the different variations we have through the county, and you're here now, and I thought, heck, it's a good time to get a better understanding of it. And because a lot of times, some of these community groups, whether it's an ag society, whether it's a community hall group, whether it's the senior center, they raise some of their own monies for some of their own, whether it's maintenance or whether it's operating, but they do raise money within the community. And I was kind of trying to get a grasp of how much of that goes on in your particular area.
Well, I can give you a few examples of that to answer. So with the Minor Hockey Association, they are putting funds away for capital replacement for Zamboni, as an example. We have the Bassano Arts Club that does various fundraisers, and they're doing upgrades at the community hall. They've prepared a CFIP application for 2020 to do the lighting and the sound system, and then they take revenue that they earn from doing their shows to help offset those costs. There are a number of different organizations. We have the Bassano Enhancement Society that also contributes funding towards capital projects. So it's definitely not a let's go to both municipal governments with our hands out and ask for money. In some municipalities you see that, but for the most part, our organizations are relatively self-sufficient in that regard. And I think that some of the recreation funding that we've put out through the new grant process will help them continue that through. Again, it's probably beneficial in the long run to have a multi-year operating capital plan for recreation in general, but that's going to take everybody some time to put together.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I was turned on. Amanda, my question, not so much about the pool, because the town operates the pool, but the joint use facility. No, not the joint use facility. The, thank you, the other building. Was that done in consultation with the volunteers that operate and have an agreement with the town? Or was that done was this assessment done in isolation? Because I was on that committee until last December, and I knew of no conversation with the town.
Good question. There was no conversation because that facility is actually not even identified in the plan here for upgrades. So the reason why it's not identified is that in the infrastructure master plan, there was actually nothing that required major upgrades at that facility. And what we've done here is the requirements that the municipality is responsible for based on the operating agreements with these user groups is how we identified the capital upgrades. So the town of Bassano is responsible for the facilities themselves in most cases, and then the user groups are responsible for, let's say, mowers and things to actually operate their business. So that's why there was no consultation with them at that time. It wasn't applicable.
I've done what Molly, I've got the two buildings mixed up. So speaking of that building, Golf Curl Bowl building, that building has an agreement with the town. You're aware that they have difficulty raising money, and I would like to shine the spotlight on that building for you, because those volunteers need some attention.
Council's acutely aware of what is happening at all of those facilities. They do have representatives that sit on each one of the boards for all of our subcommittees, and the last report that came from council last month was that they were doing okay and they're operating, and that's something that if council wants to update and amend and change the volunteer policy with those boards, that they'll be looking at that in the future.
Well, that's good to know something's doing okay. Kevin.
Madam Reeve, I'm just going to make a couple of comments to the town of Bassano. And Amanda, thanks for coming and getting the ICF together in this agreement and the Recreation Committee structured and working and organized. I think I did circulate terms of reference yesterday to council in a barrage of emails, so it might be buried in one of them. It was one of them days, I could tell. I wasn't getting any response, so I knew they had enough of me. But anyway, thanks for that, and also thank you for the detail and the backup for this information, because that helps council a lot, and we don't get to see this very much when you know, we're asked for assistance and whatnot, so thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, I second the motion, and I think from where Amanda comes, this would just be matter of course from what I know of Amanda. But it's great, it's refreshing to have information so forthcoming, so organized, so laid out, planning into the future. Oh my goodness. Wow. Yeah. It's refreshing. So, Lionel.
So Amanda, you mentioned that recreation doesn't cover its own costs. Do you have an idea what your percentage is of what you have to subsidize your recreation? Just for my own information, because I'm on the city rec board also, and we deal with it there the same, and just trying to get a comparison.
Lionel, you're funny if you think I know those percentages off the top of my head. What I have done in here as an overview is I've showed you what the deficit is for each one of the operational departments. But, you know, I can get you that number, but I don't know the percentage off the top of my head. I'll send it out to Kevin sometime in the early near future. I won't.
Good question, Lionel.
That wasn't a good question. I didn't have an answer.
No, I thought, wow, that is a really good question. But you're right, there does seem to be no answer. Perfect. So let's go back to the Matt's request for decision. So today we're looking at what of this if we want to go ahead with this plan and approve it. Why doesn't this work? Jeez. There it is up there, Matt. Approves recreation by the town. Any other questions about this before we take a look at the options there? Somebody want to make a motion? Anne-Marie.
Thank you for the information. It was very clear. I could even understand it. So I'm willing to make that motion to approve the recreation capital and funding application submitted by the town of Bassano.
So option 1 in the RFD, I mean. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Thanks, Amanda, for coming in and, as we mentioned, presenting something that's understandable, clear, and looking at a future.
You're more than welcome. Thank you. We appreciate it, and we'll provide updates as the capital upgrades happen.
Thank you. Thanks, Matt.
Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Hey, Matt, just before you skip away, I was just, thanks, Amanda. Just wanted to see if, what did I want? Just CNRL. Did we get all the good questions asked? I know it's hard.
Yeah, you guys were good.
I really encourage them to be more open and get out of camera.
Yeah, 90% of what they said needed to be on the public record, because that's what, and I think it would help administration, it would help council to have that coming from CNRL. They paint the picture. trouble I have whenever there's a PowerPoint slide is you kind of get into this, what you see is all there is, and there's always so much more.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't want to put you on the spot anymore, Matt. I realize that we're out of camera now, but I was just curious because I really believe that it would be helpful to the residents of the County of Newell, too, which don't often hear much about the big businesses that like them. They should. Thank you. You're done today on the agenda? All right, thank you. So, are we at item 11.9? Oh no, 11.8, RMA Spring Convention. 11.8. Ariana's got a request for the spring convention. Or information. What's in there? Is it? What is it you need to know, Ariana? My computer's failing me again.
All right, so it's pretty much the same as last time. Early bird deadline is next Friday, so I need to know whether you're going.
Right.
Find my summary.
Right.
Hotels have been booked for everybody. If you're bringing a guest and any meetings with ministers. I did reach out to the Minister of Agriculture and Forestry because Councillor Hammergren wanted a meeting with that. They're not sure if he's going to be available, but they do want to know discussion topics. So.
Okay. They want the topics. Yeah. Then they'll decide if he's available. Wayne, what was your main interest?
Well, I was the switch that we're seeing from the provincial government, the way I'm seeing things is from rural to oil. And I was just having a discussion with him and just encourage him not to go too far because this is the second biggest industry in this province and don't ignore it.
So the importance of agriculture.
Exactly.
And I would be curious about there have been a lot of cutbacks in the agricultural offices. I don't know if any of you have experienced.
There's no irrigation guy anymore.
And just some of the things that have gone on, cutbacks. I know CDC's, nothing much left there. Down in Lethbridge, I think there were 55 people maybe were let go from one of the ag areas there. So it'd just be interesting to see how the cutbacks might be affecting agriculture. So.
And we had some of the world's top scientists in ag research.
Research is a big topic, actually.
And they're gone.
Yeah, we could throw research into that too. So is there anyone, if you know that you're not attending, let Ariana know. Is there anybody not? Lionel is not?
I will not.
Anyone else? Kelly is not? Okay.
I'll let you know next week.
So that's the 16th to the 18th of March? Okay. Yeah, it's a March. Yeah. Okay, so keep up to date with Ariana and what's going on as far as your attendance, so we don't get stuck with a bill for something. That's it on that one, I guess. Okay. the GRIE AGM official meeting notice letter, the Genesis meeting. Is that the one that we forced Kevin to attend for us? It's the only thing we tell him to do all year. So we have to have a motion then about that? Brian, that the CAO be appointed as the representative for the County of Newell at the Genesis Reciprocal Insurance Exchange AGM, March 16th, 2020. You'd think that we thought that was going to happen. Ariana has it all written out. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Payment register. Any questions on the payment register? Or the direct debit register? If not, have a motion to accept the payment. Hubie moves. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. And for functions of council, he requests functions of council. All right, we've had the utilities report. Mark said he would leave us alone if we had questions come in, but I suggested that we probably could handle his report without him, so Kelly?
Thought of a request for approval.
Back to function of council.
Sorry.
Okay, sorry.
I attended the economic development workshop in Bassano, and so I'd appreciate that approval after the fact. I'm sorry.
No, and I think I sent out an email about that.
Yeah.
I exit. Thank you, Molly, Kelly, for that report on it. Very, very interesting. And so I'll make the motion that we accept that as a function of council. Flashing. Kevin, there was a study done on the One Tree Road. What was your first impression? Is that going to cost us a lot of money, or was it just minor?
I didn't review that one. Anne-Marie Mark would have to answer that question. I don't think it's anything major, but he would know the insides of it.
Upcoming events. This Saturday is Rural Crime AGM at the Heritage at 4 o'clock.
Molly? You've had the presentation now from CNRL, but is there going to be a motion that's made at some point? No? So it was just really for information, even though they said there was an ask? So nothing? Perfect, thanks.